This is Mayor Chris Bolwage. I'd like to welcome everyone to an edition of Our City. While there's not a lot of events going on in the city of Elizabeth, except for testing of COVID and our eventual vaccine, we're going to try and do some shows every couple of weeks and put them on Facebook and our cable television station. And today, I'm pleased to be joined by the new president at Kean University, someone who comes with a great background in education, has worked his way up the ladder, and is truly going to be a remarkable president at my alma mater. And that is Dr. Lamont Repolett. Dr. Repolett, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mayor Bowis. Thank you for having me in the great city of Elizabeth. I look forward to really just sitting down and having a nice conversation with you as we talk about, as you talked about before, the importance of vaccination, the work with the things that we're doing here, and our partnership with Union County. So thanks for having me.
Before we get into this, Dr. Repolett, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, you came up through the ranks. It's not like this was given to you on a silver platter. You worked hard to get where you are, and I think our viewers need to hear that story.
Well, thank you very much. The governor, when he selected me as the commissioner of education, he talked about having someone that was a practitioner, someone who understood exactly what you need to do, understood the process. So I was a teacher, vice principal, superintendent, had the honor of in Asbury Park School District, had the honor of being commissioner of the great state of New Jersey, and also now as the 18th president of Kean University. So truly, since I understand all levels of education, whether it's from pre-K to 16, I also served on the board of trustees, Mayor Bolwage, you know that, for 7 years, from 2011 to 2018. So I'm very familiar with this, but more importantly, I have a firm understanding of what we need in education right now, from pre-K all the way to college.
So, Mr. President, your term started in the state of New Jersey as the Commissioner of Education when Governor Murphy picked you. I always like the story that you told when you went home and you told your wife and kids that the governor wants to see me, I'm going to get interviewed, and you didn't know for what, and then all of a sudden you're sitting home with your wife one night and you get the call. It's kind of a good story. You want to share that story?
I'm going to share a little bit of it without necessarily talking about some of the insides of Governor Murphy's process, but I received a phone call at Asbury Park indicating when I like to come in and meet with the governor-elect to talk about, becoming Commissioner of Education. First thing, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was my friends. I have some friends, you know how it is, they like to play jokes and things of that nature. So I'm like, yeah, all right. So I necessarily initially didn't take it serious. And they said, well, someone from the governor's office will call you tomorrow. Well, guess what? Tomorrow gone and went, and no one called me. So I thought it was a joke, but then I didn't realize a week later I got a call from the governor's office indicating he was in Puerto Rico at the time, and he had to go to Puerto Rico, and will I be interested to come in? I thought it was an honor. I went in there, but during the process, I did not think that I was going to be selected, not because of my qualifications, Mayor. It's because normally those positions are held by individuals that are policymakers or politicians and things like that. And I'm not a big time donor, and so my whole thing was that this was a great honor. And lo and behold, I think God has saw fit for me to be the commissioner. But the night I got the phone call, that's the funny part. I'm sitting in my living room, my family room, with my wife, and I just got home from my daughter's basketball game. And the governor called, and I was like, oh snap, the governor just called, but I didn't say that. I told my wife, I'm like, it's the governor. Like that, we was mouthing it, and that was all she wrote. And I think that he couldn't have had a better pick at the time, because I really knew some of the challenges that we need to face in New Jersey as an educator.
Yeah, and you went from leading the state in educational policy to right into COVID. And that I don't think anybody could have had that on their bingo card on what happened over the last year. So as you were transforming the state and working on educational policy for the students of our state, and then all of a sudden the opportunity comes up at Kean University as COVID hits. So tell us, how have you adapted?
I can tell you why. I thought it was a seamless process because, as you just mentioned, the fact that I was the individual that for the Governor Murphy closed down the schools for COVID. So, and I'm also the individual to help write the restart plan. And I think that was important. So having that understanding of the things that we need to do to make sure that our students were safe. Whether it's looking at best practices throughout the country, whether it's working under CDC guidelines, working with the state health department. So for me, going in was an advantage. And even during the process, Mayor Bulge, at the end of the process, that was one of those things that I relied on and said, my experience as an individual, understanding what the state requires of school districts and of institutions of higher ed, what they understood, what they need for COVID. So to me, I thought the transition was well. I just want to shout out the superintendent in town, Olga Hogelmeyer. I'm just tell you, she was a wonderful person that I worked with as commissioner. And also just want to take a time to reflect on the lives of those educators in Elizabeth during that time that have passed away as a COVID. So just a lot of respect for what she's done there and everything like that. So just wanted to shout over out real quick. But getting back to my story, just want to say it prepared me. I think understanding what we need to do gave me an advantage over my competition.
Well, thank you for the comment about the 4 educators we lost early on in COVID back in March and April. They were all really good people and really sad for their families. This county and our city would not be in the position of testing and now moving into the vaccine level without the support of you and Kean University. Over in the Vaughn Ames parking lot, the testing site was set up, and we've tested tens of thousands of people over there, and now we're starting a vaccine. Not only that, Kean University is actually testing right on site because of your foresight and the work with the county. Tell us how that came into play from your point of view.
I'm going to give credit to my predecessor, former President Dawood Farai. He was the individual, I believe, in last March, where the partnership began last March in regards to testing, providing that. And I think just our partnership over this time, Mayor Bowich, has gotten stronger in regards to really looking at, wow, we really can make a difference, in not just at Kean University, but also in the county, by really looking at how can we form a strong relationship that can totally benefit. So it was started with the testing. And I think that as we've gone through the testing, we've had some success there. But then we started looking at, well, what more can we do? And we understand that Union County and Elizabeth, the number of COVID positives, and understanding the underlying conditions for some of our individuals that are in the county, we needed to make sure that we can be able to process these labs, these results quick enough so we can do something about it. And I think that the commitment there with our county manager, Ed Oatman, who happens to be an alumni and also a board of trustee member, and also with the commissioner director, Al Marabella, and the whole commissioner team. I just think that it was just great for us to really take our partnership to the next level. And by doing that, is thinking outside the box, because we have the facility, Mayor. And I want to prove to everyone that Kean University is positioned to be the next research institution. We have the infrastructure, we have the faculty expertise, we have the facilities, and we definitely have our amazing students. So this opportunity to be able to process COVID samples within our lab is giving the world, we stake the claim in saying that we are the next institution, research institution in Union County, because this is what we're doing. Plus, we're giving back. I call that service to humanity.
So, Mr. President, one of the things when you created that lab, it's also affecting the pandemic is also affecting some of our international students because of travel. And Kean University, as you talk about being a future research institution, Dr. Ferrari was focusing on international studies as well. How has this affected your efforts to attract international students as well as send other students throughout the world?
When we shut down, that shut down a lot of international travel. Normally, we have close to almost 300 international students on campus, whether that's with our partnership with Windsor Kean University or with just our international exchange program. And we currently have about 100 students on campus. And of the 100, I would say probably 80 to 90% of them remained from last year. So some of our students didn't even go home. And so we're providing that for them. So yes, we understand the importance of really containing the spread of COVID. We understand that we value the international relationships we have with Windsor and with other parts of the country. So that's the one piece. I had a conversation today with Windsor Kean University, and the one question came up today is, when are we thinking about looking to attract international students or have that cooperation? And as soon as possible, Mayor Bowles, we're going to be able to open up the floodgates again to be able to allow them, because when you have the diverse perspective and you have those individuals involved with our community, it enriches the community. I say diversity is our strength at Kean University. It's part of our DNA. And I think that not having those individuals and their perceptions and the lens in which they see things, it's kind of a way for us to say, we miss that. We want to make sure that we can get that back. So international students is key for us, not just because we have the relationship, because I think it benefits on both sides. Our students, and students from especially from Elizabeth, get a chance to go internationally, Mayor, and to get to see things. It brings the world closer. We talk about global citizens. This is an example. And really get to understand and broaden their horizon and perspective, and seeing that things occur outside of the USA, outside of the county, and outside of their township or city.
Dr. Repolett, switching gears a little bit, one of the things you talked about when you became the president was inequities, not only at Kean University, but in society as general. And you feel strongly about this issue, but you've addressed it in a way at Kean University. Maybe you can talk about how you deal with inequities in the system, and especially during COVID, it's got to be a little tougher to deal with it.
Yeah, so definitely. One of the things that I really brought with me in my administration at the Department of Education was really looking at equity and diversity. As I talked about, diversity is our strength, and you look at when you have 76% of your student population diverse, then you really understand that we need to have a workforce that reflects that. And right now, currently looking, and when I got here, I did a landscape analysis, looked at the data, and I realized that we have probably less than 15%. We do have less than 15% of faculty of color. We also want to make sure that our university is inclusive. We want to make sure that not just from a diversity standpoint, inclusive from also a gender and also sexual orientation and things of that nature. And that's all part of equity and diversity. Also affordability. We understand that we have the lowest tuition comprehensive out of 4-year university in the state. And that's equity, that's access, right? Whenever you have an opportunity to give a good product at an affordable rate so everyone can benefit, then we all benefit. So I think it's not just, people look at equity sometimes, Mayor, as black and white. I look at equity as the whole, the comprehensive look, right? Everyone on campus should feel like they belong, whether it's your religion, whether it's a sexual orientation, whether it's anything that you feel, you should feel comfortable being on this campus. So what we did was that we hired our first ever director of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that person, Mayor, will make sure that we infuse equity within our curriculum, equity within our operations, and equity within our hiring. And we also did something for the first time. We have a postdoctoral fellowship, which is looking at recruiting diverse faculty members and bringing them in through the during the tenure track process, right? Having them come in as lecturers and move them along that process, and within 5 years, they're part of the tenure process. I'm excited about that. We have close to 70 people throughout the world, 70 faculty members throughout the world apply for those positions, which are only going to come out to about 8 to 10 positions.
So, speaking of positions, internships for students is extremely important. And during COVID, it's got to be tougher. How are you dealing with that? And how is the institution trying to make sure students at Kean University have an opportunity for internships?
First thing we do is that you understand Ed.T, educational program, where teachers are required to go in. So that right kind of gave us a blueprint, right, Mayor? Gave us a blueprint, the fact that, people are working from home. So we understand that we give them tools they need to be able to zoom in, whether it's a teaching situation or even working with different industry partners, where our students are allowed to be able to do virtual meetings. Our career services, headed up by our senior vice president of planning, Felice Vasquez. She's running career services and making sure that we put on programming such as resume building, that we also have opportunities for students to look for these internship opportunities. So we're still doing it. However, it's not like it's in person. It's really not.
Dr. Repolett, we're running out of time, but I wanted to cover esports and video gaming and entering college. And the university's planning to tap into this growing popular recreation activity and professional sport. This is new for me, so I'm curious to learn.
Well,
I'm a basketball, baseball, football kind of guy. And so what's esports and how is Kean University going to tap into this?
I can tell you one. So it goes back to the equity piece as well, right? Looking at all students coming on campus and be able to participate. We have a lot of gamers. Gaming right now is the future, right? And we've seen that with this virtual living. So there are competitions, there are leagues that universities are a part of, and we're looking to tap into the league. I got my new athletic director, Kelly Williams. He's actually looking to see what leagues are out there with other universities. So esports is pretty much exactly what it is, electronic sports, whether it's football, gaming, whatever it is that they have competition with, and our students get to participate. It taps into those students who may look at gaming as an opportunity, for workforce, because we understand gamers right now make a lot of money by gaming. And when it comes to the educational space, looking at gaming right now is tapping into education as well. So we're going to tap into that. I'm still in my infancy stage as well, Mayor, because as you said before, I played video games, but yet our students now are becoming immersed in video games a lot earlier than what I have, and it's become an opportunity, whether it's computer science, coding, all those things tie into gaming. So we want to cover from the academic as well as the recreational piece for our students.
Mr. President, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to join me for this show. I wish you and your family safe travels and safeness through this difficult time, and your leadership at Kean University, my alma mater, is in good hands.
Well, thank you very much. Continue, Mayor. Thank you very much. Continue doing a great job for the great city of Elizabeth as well. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate it.
This is Mayor Chris Ballways for Dr. Lamont Repolett, the new president at Kean University. We'll see you next week on another edition of Our